a daughter who struggles with the challenge of finding a donor heart for her mother. Going through this experience, she realizes the need for a dependable, organized system that Indian families could rely on. Thus was born Organ India, an organ giving and receiving awareness network. And then there is a mother who struggles to find biodegradable and organic period products for her daughter. Now, with the increasing rates of cancer, with the increasing incidences of PCOS or the endometriosis, the need for chemical-free products becomes crucial. And this gave rise to the Women's Company, a brand that innovated eco-conscious products like the Teen Pad, a fully biodegradable urination device. The daughter and the mom in the story that I just shared is none other than Anika Parashar, the founder of the Organ India, as well as the Women's Company. It's a pleasure to have you with us at BW Wellbeing, Anika. Maybe you want to share a little bit about yourself before we begin.
So I run the Women's Company, which is a company I started about 2 years ago, focusing on biodegradable and organic menstrual hygiene products for women. So we're all made in India, we're biodegradable, we're organic, including the packaging. It's a women-run company. Ironically, the other companies in this space are all run by men, which I find interesting. Prior to this, I used to run hospitals for women. So, you know, the Fortis La Femme Women's Hospitals, I was the chief operating officer there. And before that, my background is actually in healthcare as well, because I'm a trained birth professional. So I've worked with women who are, either trying for a baby through natural fertility, techniques. I've worked with women in labor as a doula. I've worked, with women who are struggling with breastfeeding, with young moms who, want support in various aspects of life. So, I trained and qualified in hypnobirthing, water birthing, and there's professional qualifications in each of these areas where I, kind of focused. And then ironically, I went from the natural birth aspect of it to actually running hospitals to the administration, aspect of it. So the whole gamut of women's health has always been my passion. And when I resigned from Fortis La Femme about 3 years ago, my mom had died. So I took a little bit of a break. And when I was thinking about what to do next, it had to be women's health. And my daughter was hitting puberty. And so I was kind of examining the options out there in terms of, menstrual hygiene solutions for her. And so initially I thought I would just invest in a company in this space and, mentor them and work with them, in building their own brand. But then when I actually looked at everything and the consortium of investors that I invested with, we realized that they didn't tick all the boxes, and that they were more marketing companies rather than product companies that really cared about the quality of the product, So I said, we're going to do this ourselves. And then, a bunch of healthcare guys that joined me, and we started, and, we started in the pandemic, and we've grown by leaps and bounds. We've had our first round of funding. We're going into our second round now. And, we sell on our own website, and we sell across all the online marketplaces like Amazon and Nika and Flipkart and all of that. Plus, we are now making ourselves available in the brick and mortar stores across India. So we're actually trying to, Harbinder, get to that point where we have created a pad which is at the price of a plastic pad, but it is an organic pad. It's a biodegradable pad. So we've built, when we started, the price of biodegradable pads were in 20 rupees per pad, 23 rupees per pad. We've brought that down to almost an 11 rupee per pad, which is, by manufacturing in India, which is sort of neck to neck with plastic pads. So one is, obviously, I wanted a better menstruation journey for women, because women, drive me in terms of my passion. And the second is, the planet, because about 6, 7 years ago, there was an entire campaign across the world to eliminate plastic straws. You remember that? So basically, We just woke up one day and there were no plastic straws anywhere. You couldn't get them anywhere. There were paper, there were metal, or they were like go strawless, because those plastic straws were going and wedging themselves inside the noses of sea turtles. And women wear plastic for every month for 35 years, but we don't balance out in the equation of importance when it comes to anything. So I was, I think all we're trying to do is just get us equitable even to sea turtles. That would be good enough.
You have been in various roles in businesses which have been related to women, whether it is birthing or whether it is managing a hospital focused on women. What were your key learnings that you felt impacted you and are now a part of the business or an enterprise that you are building?
I think one of the key things is that, like we just spoke about it, until you have a pain point yourself, you don't understand the value of a particular product or service. You don't understand the need gap. So a lot of it is about actually understanding your consumer, your customer, regardless of what you're selling to them, whether it's a hospital service or it's a product. I think it's really understanding what that need is and what drives that need. So that is for me a key learning, that you really have to understand and imbibe that, which is why I find that there need to be more women in business, because yes, men do very well also providing services and products to women, but they don't have the same anatomy, they don't have the same physiology, they don't have the same ability to understand. It's like, I wouldn't be able to completely understand what you as a man needs. So, it's an understanding, it's an in-depth feeling the pulse of your consumer. I think that's one thing. And the second part is to get as close to that consumer as possible. So, when we as brands or organizations speak to our consumers, I think it's really important to actually understand where they're coming from, what makes them tick, what they're really saying, and imbibe their feedback. So I think what our customers have to say to us, I think brands or products may view customers as, difficult or, tough to deal with, whatever. But under that, there is a lot of value that they have to add. Customers have given us incredible suggestions in terms of new products, in terms of, the way that something should be presented, in the way that something should be delivered, in what they're looking for, even in terms of the amount of glue to put on a pad. Okay. We've listened to our customers, and I really respect what they have to say, So I think that would be the third point. I think in the 20 plus years of work that I've done, I think one of the things that I've also picked up is about teams. Build really, really smart teams. I'm definitely not the smartest person here. Okay. I'm maybe the most organized. Okay. Let's put it that way. But my job is primarily to hold on to the vision and to organize, departments and the thinking around here. But the people that I have are highly skilled in the areas that they need to be skilled in. I don't have to have all the answers as a CEO. I can't, not anyone does. And I think that's one of the things that we as leaders need to understand, is that we don't have to show that we know it all. Even in meetings, pitches, etc. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to show that you don't know it all. Just be smart enough to have the right people who do know, those answers. So I think that's another point that I would say. And I think the last point for me is that every day is a new day. Every day is about learning something. And I think the day that we think that we know it all and the learning stops, that's the last day. We should just stop then completely. So I think those are the ones that come to mind, top of mind.
Having a purpose behind what you are doing just makes it more sustainable exercise than just a project that you're working on. Brilliant. Anika, what I also want to understand is that, women share a lot of things among themselves. Like, for example, you were talking about you understanding your daughter better because, you understand her physiology as well, right? Now, this has also been the case when, this information about personal hygiene, personal needs gets passed on from a mother to a daughter, to her daughter, and so on. This has been the tradition. But in today's day and age, do you think this needs to go beyond that? Is there some organized awareness that needs to be created? And if yes, what do you recommend should be done to create this kind of an awareness among women and young girls?
I think there's a lot that can be done. One is, the key point is in your home, talking about menstrual hygiene or menstruation openly. It's a normal, natural process of the body, whether it's my son or my daughter, we speak about it. And I mean, they have no choice now to speak about it because it's my everyday work. But even, even otherwise, I think it's important to normalize this stuff, about anything to do with health, men's health, women's health, sexual wellness, everything, so that we can start the practice of open dialogue between parents and children. Okay. If that needs to be done in homes, especially in Indian homes where it is a little bit, or parents do find it a little awkward to do the same, but it's important to do it, because then and you can trust that if your kids have any questions, they're coming to you, and they're not floundering and they're not struggling and they're not getting misinformed from other places. So that's one aspect. The second is schools. I think schools can play a huge part here, not just in the sex ed classes that they do or the sexual awareness classes that they do, but even in, having, for example, pad vending machines in each of the schools, so that it's normalized. It's normalized that you can, girls go through this and it's normal. They may feel a certain way, educating them about it so that even those kids who don't get the education at home do get it, from school, having counselors readily available for that. Um, Also access to doctors, access to gynecologists who can, provide young girls who are going through puberty or going through, starting of menarche, with the right information about the various aspects of puberty, so that again they're forewarned and forearmed and they know what to deal with without worrying about it. I mean, when my daughter finally got her period, it was the most normal thing in the world. She knew that she could continue with football, she could continue with karate. If she had any questions, she could ask me. She knew that she was wearing the healthiest products, which she herself had researched, understood. She felt the difference between a plastic product and a super soft organic product. So she knew and was comfortable with it. And it's just another thing that happens. So it's about starting. It's a 35-year journey, Harbinder. So you want to start these girls off positively, not starting off saying, "Oh my God, for the next 35 years, I'm screwed." That's not what you want for your daughters. So yeah.
So, Anika, there's something that comes into my mind the moment you were speaking about creating this platform for educating the girls while they're about to begin their journey so that they're ready for it. I think there's a lot of innovations which have been created because it is not normal among boys and girls. You know, uh, where I'm coming from is that, girls usually shy away from these things. For example, you spoke about the pad vending machine. How do we make it so normal that it is okay for a girl to go to the pad vending machine and take that pad without being feeling shamed for this? I mean, this is not a planned question, but something that came into my mind, and I really want to know this.
Accessibility. So, I mean, the key to everything is normalization. If they see these vending machines in each of their school bathrooms, then they'll use it. They'll feel it's normal. Like everywhere abroad, you have vending machines that dispense pads, tampons, condoms, like they do, any kind of, other hygiene or even chocolates and chips. So they've normalized it to that extent. Whereas, we still haven't done that. The more that we see these products, the more that we see them, in our everyday bathrooms, etc., the more normal that we will feel about it, the more normal girls will feel about it. Also about when you go and pick up a packet of pads from the market, they wrap them in these brown paper bags or newspapers, like they want to cover it up. But no, I mean, that's not required. We have very, very sexy packaging because we want you to be proud of your packet of pads. We don't want you to hide it away. And by design the color is red because we don't believe you should hide it away. It doesn't need to be pastel, it doesn't need to be apologetic. This is the way God created us, and this is what we do. We menstruate every month, and we menstruate, and that's how babies are born eventually. That's what the process is. So the biggest, largest, most powerful concept known to humanity, which is procreation, happens because you have your period. Okay, or your period enables this to happen because for the months that you are not pregnant, that blood is not required, otherwise it's there. So I think we need to also normalize the way that we think about this and rejig it. In India, we are we are burdened by a lot of myths that have come, stigmas that have been created over years, and we're no longer in those times. It's almost like the stigmas are outdated, because we have progressed. So why are we holding on to them?
Awesome, brilliant. Now, Anika, you have worked very closely with moms, and you yourself being one. What are the key factors that you feel are important while choosing products for what moms keep in mind while choosing products for their teenage daughters in today's day and age?
I don't know about other moms. I can speak about myself from a mom's perspective, is that for me, whether it is a product that they eat or that they use as in skincare, or whether it's pads, what I'm looking for nowadays is what's healthy, organic, sustainable, preventative, because there are so many products that are now linked to all kinds of diseases, infections, and we know, for example, that plastic products are not ideal. They have toxins. That, non-organic food have the chances of being sprayed by pesticides, which is again, ingesting chemicals. So, if you can afford it and you can go natural and organic as much as possible, why wouldn't you? That would be my way of spinning it back. So I would actually put it like that. Now, all parents may not think the same way. The awareness is just building. It's happening more in the Western world. The awareness is built more in the Western world, and it is building in India as well. We see from when we started to now, the kind of questions, the kind of inquiries that come from even tier 2, 3, 4 cities, where they're curious. They want to know more. They want to make those changes. So there's a lot of, and the pandemic, I think, has played a large part in general wellness, preventative care, health in general, which has got us thinking about how we want to live our lives.
So, you spoke about myths, you spoke about taboos. What are some of the social taboos that women face in today's time as well? Would you want to take a few minutes to break the myths?
So, the myths range from all kinds of things, Harbinder, from a woman can't a woman can't be in a kitchen cooking when she's got her period. A woman can't go to a temple or a place of worship if she's got her period, or she can't engage in the family rituals. It comes down to, you can't cut a particular fruit, you can't go out in an eclipse. There are many, many myths out there. There are many stigmas that are out there. Sometimes, in some parts of the country, it's considered a curse. It's even called that. Oh, is it the time of the curse? And so there's a lot of negative connotation to do with period that has happened over the last many years in India, across the world as well. In fact, we recently did a post on myths across the world, and the interesting stories, and it's quite crazy. I'll share it with you if you're interested. Across the world, the kind of myths that have come out, and they've come through generations of what people have perceived this to be. But there are lots of jokes about it. Like if a woman can bleed every month and still survive, can you trust her? Like things like that. So there's a lot that has kind of come down through generations. But I think what is interesting, or what is encouraging now is that it is no longer just about that. I think people are thinking beyond it. I think films like Padman, I think movements like, what a lot of these NGOs are doing in terms of in the rural areas, a lot of people are working towards this cause, to normalize it. So we are seeing shifts. We are.
Anika, what is it that the women's company is doing disrupting women's hygiene industry, and how do you plan to proceed further? I know there's a purpose behind it, but what is it actually that you're doing which is going to disrupt the industry?
So I think there are a couple of things. First of all, we're having a lot of conversations. We're a women's run company. We're healthcare women who worked in healthcare. So we're not just somebody who decided to start a marketing company and sell an FMCG product. So we come from a place of experience and, and credibility in that space. We're having conversations. We have them with experts across the space. And we are building that community of women where we can talk about things that have to do with women's health without worrying, with abandon. And that's one of the things that we want to do. Our products are unique as in, let me talk about one particular. So obviously the teenage pad is a pad that's customized for teenagers to start her off on her period, in a positive manner. We also started something called a compassionate pad, which is a pad that we launched with Facebook. And, Facebook came to us to launch this product because they realized that more and more women were going through pregnancy or baby loss, and, they wanted to talk about it. So we launched this product, which had 10 pads in a box. Each pad came in its own, comes in its own envelope, which addresses a particular emotion that you go through if you are grieving. So it could be grief, loss, aloneness, guilt, shame, and we address those emotions. At the back of the box is a QR code. That QR code, when you scan it through your phone, it takes you to a WhatsApp chat bot, okay, through which you can access experts like gynecologists, counselors, healers, nutritionists, fitness professionals, so that you can actually talk to them or other women who are going through this. At one of the points with the app was, at its most popular, we had over 3 lakh women in the country on the app talking about their miscarriages and their experiences in it. So there is a huge potential to build a community, and we are doing it because we are trusted partners in this space. Now, for such a new company like us, why did Facebook approach us? Because I think the fact that the founders have a certain credibility, and we come with there's an experience sense and an empathy which is related to running hospitals and having worked with women so intimately over the last 2 decades. The other thing that we're doing is we're actually trying to work in real time. So as I said, it's all well and good to offer biodegradable products, but how do you actually make the change across an entire nation and then globe? It has to be price points. So that's what we're working on. We moved our manufacturing to India so that it would be completely made in India products, as opposed to exporting them from places, which is what other companies do for ease. The largest manufacturer for these products was China earlier. And now we are manufacturing here, and we're actually exporting to the States as well. So we are working very hard on getting our price points in check so that this product is available to every single woman out there. We want to be able to eliminate any of the problems that happen with plastic products in menstruation. So when we talk about what we're doing to disrupt the market, these are some of the, the things that we've kind of done or started. Miles to go before we sleep, Harvinder. It's only been 2 years. Give me some time.
Absolutely. I think this is a journey which has just begun, and there's lots to do. Anika, I'm sure, since you're a purpose-driven entrepreneur, what are your plans to reach out to the tier 2, tier 3 city? Are we ready to go there, or we just want to explore the Indian?
We are already there. We are already reaching out to tier 2, 3, 4 cities. We are getting responses. About 40% of our customer base comes from there. Okay. We hope to eventually get that, build that up to more as well. Through our own website or through the various marketplaces, our reach is now spreading out. We need to go deeper, we need to go wider, and that only happens as our pockets get deeper as well. So hence the next fundraise and the next round that we're moving into as well.
How big is the women's company right now in terms of revenue size?
So in terms of size, we're about 33 people across the country in terms of including sales force on the ground. In terms of revenue, I'll refrain from that at the moment because there's a lot of stuff that's out there. But I can get you that data if you'd like. We have grown about 150% in the last 2 years. So we really have made leaps and bounds.
What has been your biggest challenge, or what is your biggest challenge? Is it the manufacturing, or is it the quality, maintaining the quality, or is it the distribution?
I think it's been the logistics for a large part. Because of the pandemic. We have, certain areas closed down when it's COVID, certain areas closed down when it's, when there's a high level of cases, etc. That has been difficult to navigate for a new business, because obviously there are delays in orders, etc. And then we have to have our customer engagement and customer communication really on point. So I think that has been a challenge. The other aspect has been for us, and I think it is for any D2C business, is as you grow bigger, your marketing costs also online go up. So, it's managing that and understanding what is the right balance, in terms of our customer acquisition cost that we should maintain for a particular, customer of a particular value. So it's finding that balance that has been, I wouldn't say challenging, but definitely keeping us on our toes, and we're learning a lot.
Anika, the lifestyle diseases are on a rise, and we know that India is becoming a capital for diabetes and such kind of lifestyle related disease. Are there any issues which are specific to women that need to be addressed and which can be prevented if there is awareness and acceptance of such education?
Yes. First of all, one of the learnings that I had as the CEO of a chain of women's hospitals is that how many women do not come in for preventative checks. So if you actually get a pap smear or a mammogram or a breast ultrasound and get those checks in place, you detect even cancers at an earlier rate. I mean, even the women working at my own hospital wouldn't do it, okay? Because time nahi hai. You see, women as a gender, what we do is we prioritize everyone else, okay? We prioritize everything else, from our husbands to our parents, to our children, to our, our staff, our teams at work. Everyone is more important than us, okay? And definitely more important than our health. So any niggling issue, whether it is, I've got a headache, I've got this, I've got that, you just put it away. But how do you know what's actually lurking behind that headache if you don't check it out? So, there is a need for women to prioritize themselves and to put themselves first. So I think there is definitely a lot that can be done towards women's health. The other interesting thing when I was running hospitals, and that's what I started to change, but then obviously my own personal path changed with what had happened in my home, is that women's hospitals tend to focus on obstetrics only. So what you're telling me is that as a woman, my health is limited to the 9 months of pregnancy. I don't count before and after that. No part of me counts before and after that. So even in my 4 hospitals, I started more gynecology programs. So getting the, breast focus there, getting more gynae, in terms of, are we looking at, vaginal infections? Are we looking at, polycystic ovaries? Are we looking at endometriosis? Are we looking at, issues that go at menopause issues? Are we looking at issues that go over and beyond just those 9 to 12 months, if you count, a little bit of before and after of fertility care and postpartum. So I think as in general, I mean, that is what is shocking, that in our country, women's health is limited to obstetrics, and it's changing slowly, but miles to go.
I'm sure. Anika, I want to move to the other side of what you do, which is the Organ India, that you have created. Now, how do you think is the Indian scenario of the organ donation? I won't even call it an industry, but the ecosystem.
So it has grown a lot in terms of awareness. The reality is that organ donation and transplant impacts almost every family in India in some way or the other. You don't realize it, but when livers are impacted, kidneys are impacted, so many people are on dialysis. Dialysis rates are, are growing. People are having more and more heart transplants. You're realizing that there are a lot of organ-related issues in the country, but the awareness levels are still less. Even in terms of, companies that work with, NGOs for CSR, etc., it tends to be cancer care. It's still about Nani Kali and girl child. But the reality is that there's so many people out here who are struggling and need transplants. Now, the reality about transplants, and no, not everyone can donate their organs. Okay, so if I die of a heart attack, I'm not eligible. I have to die of brain death, which means that just that my brain stem cell has to die, and only then am I eligible to donate an organ, which means that my heart is still beating, I'm on a ventilator. You ask my family if it's okay that I am a donor, and then you take out my organs and donate them to various people, as per whatever my family's last wishes are for me. So the window is so limited, and the number of people who need an organ at any given time go into lakhs and lakhs. So the discrepancy is so high in our country. And because, like, as opposed to other countries which have national systems, although we do have NATO here, and NATO does work very closely with the states, which is, and the regions, SOTO and ROTO, it's still a long way to go in terms of mechanizing these systems, automating them, so that there is a national system where organs are transplanted, transported from place to place, where everyone who is a donor is signed up, and therefore eligible, and that harvesting of organs is possible in as many hospitals as possible to be able to increase the level of donation and transplant. It's shifting, but it's still not where ideally we need it to be as a nation.
So what are the biggest challenges that you have seen? One is awareness that you've already spoken of. Second is, do you find any social myths or challenges around the family not willing to, have cuts on the body? Or are there, challenges around the misusage of organ transplants, etc.?
So there has been misusage, and I know that it has occurred. There have been, and therefore rules have become more stringent. And I understand why rules had to become more stringent, because to curb all these practices which are not ideal or legal. But yes, there are. So I mean, that is one very real problem. There is a lot of myth, and there is a lot of stigma, and there's a lot of emotion. It's difficult for families to say, I'm going to cut my relative up and put them in, and what about, there are myths that have to do with, but if they're not complete and whole, how will they, ascend into heaven? How will they attain that nirvana? What will happen about their next life? What about the karmic implications? There are so many aspects to this, emotional, spiritual, religious, for different religions, that it's difficult to navigate. It comes down to one point, okay? The person that you have lost is no longer there, but they can still gift a life. They have no use for their organs. They are gone. There is no way to recover them. Once you are brain dead, it is not reversible. And this is why more and more, hospitals are training transplant coordinators, so that there are educated, informed, empathetic people who are having these conversations with families who need to understand the realities of the situation. It's very difficult, Harbinder. It's a very difficult topic. When my mother got her heart, it was so bittersweet, because we were so grateful to this donor family that donated this heart, but also we very much knew that somebody had to go to give her this, and it's just immense gratitude, which is why today, at that point, my dad had already passed away. So this was our only living parent. We were still, in our 30s and young, my brother and me, and it was unfathomable to think that you'd have no parents left, And when she died 3 years ago, many people asked me, are you going to close down organ now? Ab kya zarurat hai? I said, what do you mean? You know, she was a means to the end. She was not the end, you know, and therefore we continue our work as a family and as an NGO. And we've now got this opportunity to represent the entire country at the World Transplant Games, which is huge. So it's incredibly it's an incredibly emotional space for families, for recipients as well as donors, and it's really an act of the human spirit, generosity of the human spirit. I know families who've donated their young children's organs. I mean, they're fantastic people. You bow down to people like that.
I think it's an amazing work that you are doing. It's a great cause that you're working towards. Let me come to your personal learnings. I want you to share something that you would want to tell the women entrepreneurs, in fact, wannabe entrepreneurs. There are a lot of women who are working in the corporate world just like you were, and they wish they could get the wings to become an entrepreneur, do what is there in their mind. But the challenges that I have seen when I was advising a few startups was that, listen, I don't know whether I want to be out of this comfort zone because I will need to bootstrap, I'll need to work from home. And the moment I start working from home, I have other pressures which will come in that, घर में बच्चे भी हैं, घर में काम भी देखना है, I'll get sucked into it. So they don't take that plunge. What is it that you have learned from your journey that you would want to share with these women?
I think it comes down to how bad do you want it. I mean, I'm a single mom. I have no parents. Okay. So I have literally no support in terms of primary relationships. I did it, I've done it. I'm doing it. And it's how bad you want it. And also to be aware of the fact that with any entrepreneurial journey, you constantly have to deal with naysayers. I've been invested in before by Mahindra, by Fortis. This is the third kind of thing that I'm doing on my own. And this is completely on my own, with no big banner company supporting us. But there are naysayers. There are people all throughout who tell you can't do it. It's an idea before its time. There's a lot of clutter in the market. There's a lot of people out there. Price points nahi honge, ye nahi hoga. You can't raise funds. It's a shitty market. Blinders, I don't care what you say. I do not care what you say. I am just focused on what I need to do. That's it, And for me, I think because I've had such a turbulent personal life with so many challenges, that my work, is where I fuel my pain, and it takes me out of myself and out of my own demons. And I think that is where my passion meets my purpose. Okay. And it fuels my pain in a creative manner. It's worked very well for me. But for me, it would come down to literally two things. How bad do you want it? And how much are you willing to ignore everything else?
I think perseverance is something that is very, very important. So I completely resonate with what you're saying. Anika, it's been a brilliant conversation that I've had with you. I am so happy that you could take out time to be in a conversation. My big takeaway from this conversation is that what you are doing is not just about creating products. You're out there to create an impact which will change the way people see women's health. And as a society, we'll be more empathetic and caring for that. And so thank you so much. I wish you all the best in what you are doing.
Thank you so much.
More power to you. I wish you continue to do making this difference, and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.